Thank you for joining us. My name's Steve Russell. I am the program manager for Project Cities. And over here is the lovely Ann Richmond.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday.
She's the director of the Sustainable Cities Network and the Project Cities program. So today we're going to start off with this. So we're going to go through and kind of about the program. We'll talk about the structure and process. We'll talk a little bit about some of our past and future work. We'll talk about what a city gets as a partner for Project Cities. And then we'll go through the RFP submission process and some special tips to get you ahead on that. Just some quick thing. If it doesn't sound like anyone's in a noisy environment, if that changes at all, just do us a favor and mute the line. There should be a little mic button on the page there for you. And also, if you can just, I know we actually all have video, so that's nice, but just go ahead and introduce yourself when you speak as well. Feel free also to, since there's so few of us today, go ahead and interrupt if you have any questions. I will pause periodically to check in and see if we do have questions, but if you have any, don't hesitate to interrupt. Any questions before we get started?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about Project Cities. So our overall goal is really quite simple and straightforward. We provide cities with additional capacity. We help students to apply what they're learning in real world, real life kind of learning lab scenarios. And ultimately, we work to help cities move ahead with projects, improving their residents' quality of life. A little bit of background about the program. Project Cities is under the Sustainable Cities Network umbrella. We are the program underneath that is a university community partnership. We engage directly with a partner community for 12 to 24 months or one academic year plus, depending. There's typically, we only work with one community partner per academic year, so we can really focus in and hone in on the relationship and address that community's needs directly. We work with both undergrad and graduate students. Typically, our undergraduate students are higher level students with some minor exceptions with, for example, a program we're working with this semester, which is a Next Generation Leadership Academy, really bright, very motivated young leaders. The program itself is modeled off of a nationwide model that was initially started at the University of Oregon in Eugene called the Sustainable Cities Year. And correct me if I got this wrong, but their program is absolutely huge. It's working on, is it over 100 projects?
They actually work with 10 to 20 different projects per academic year.
So quite a bit larger than ours. We tend to focus in on one city at a time, work on kind of a smaller menu of projects that address that community's needs. But we're also a member of a nationwide network called the Epic N Network. So this is a fee-based program. It's not free. It's just kind of everyone puts a little bit of skin in the game, and the fees kind of help us with supporting student work, logistics, administrative support, classroom materials, any software licenses, as well as editing and printing of the final end of semester reports. So today we're going to discuss the RFP, and we're going to talk about the process to choosing our next city partner. Do you have any questions up at this point?
Yes, Steve, it's Jody. In order for me to do the fundraising for the budget that we're proposing, I would love to have a list of what that budget needs to fund. If you wouldn't mind sending me something in email, that would be fabulous.
Sure, I can send an itemized list of kind of what's included in the program, as well as the kind of some ballparking figures. Each project is kind of priced individually based on maybe the complexity of the project, what departments and what programs we have involved, and the level of work that the students will be engaging with. So what I can send over is some kind of ballpark figures to help you out with that, as well as a list of what's all included in the program.
Thank you. I just need a ballpark. I just need a for instance so that I'm sure that I am pitching this the right way. So that would be very helpful. Thank you.
You betcha. All right, now it's time to test our amazing technology. Let's see. The last time this video wouldn't show, so please interrupt if you're not getting it, okay? But here's a brief, just 3-minute video about the model, kind of illustrate what we do. Try that again. All right.
Cities are always looking for ways to improve, whether that's by increasing quality of life or reaching economic, social, or environmental goals. Yet, at a local level, change is often hard. City staff often lack the capacity, time, knowledge, or political space to make the changes that society increasingly demands. So how can the city get knowledge into practice, facilitate positive discussions about change, and look at old problems in new ways? It turns out that what cities lack, universities have in abundance. Students have a tremendous amount of creativity and desire to make change. They are learning best practices and the latest theories, and are hungry to find ways to translate that knowledge into practice. They can facilitate conversations in the community that are less threatening and more productive, and they have a lot of time to give. Many university departments already do work related to cities in subjects like city planning, architecture, geography, law, business, journalism, landscape architecture, economics, engineering, and public administration, just to name a few. The trick is to match a city and its needs with a university and its resources, while working within the administrative structure of both, adding value to all and engaging in a scale that actually improves the outcomes for cities and universities. How does a city access students and faculty? How do instructors know what projects the community actually wants help with? And who has the time to coordinate any of it and ensure that the work is real work? That's where we come in. Think of our model as a framework that solves the university-community partnership puzzle. It fits the complicated structure of city governments and universities neatly together. There are 2 keys to the match. First, a coordinator within the university and a coordinator at the city work closely together on every aspect of the partnership. Their job is to make it easy for individuals, professors, and individual city staff members to plug into the partnership. Second, those individual instructors and staff co-develop a scope of work that ensures the work produced advances the city's plan for the year while also meeting the educational needs and abilities of students. This 2-tiered relationship structure is a key innovation of our model. It provides quality control, ensures the projects are real, and allows busy faculty and city staff to engage easily in a partnership that provides tremendous value to their existing work responsibilities. Our model empowers cities and universities to create lasting change, trains the next generation workforce in innovative ways, and advances real efforts to improve quality of life in communities throughout the country and potentially around the world.
All right. And of course, we'll come back to questions many times, but is anything coming to mind at the moment?
I'm good on my end.
All right, lovely. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. A little bit about the project structure and how we communicate. We primarily operate in that gray box that you see there, drawing connections between city staff and ASU faculty and setting the stage for successful partnerships. The ASU faculty and their students will then engage in the projects that we set them out on to solve those problems that you're looking at. We make connections, provide logistical support, and provide supplemental funding for those student projects. As a community partner, you'll interface actually with all 3 constituent groups, both us, the faculty, and the students. We provide communication support as needed, help to organize files, ensuring that you're not getting massive amounts of email from when final projects are done. And then we meet regularly with all constituency groups to check in on project progress. Won't spend too much time on this slide, but I just wanted to show you kind of what our cycle looks like. So we begin with the RFP process that you're all looking at right now. After we've selected a city partner for the academic year, we'll go into a matching process where we take the project ideas that you submit and connect them with assets that we have here at the university. Now, keep in mind that this matching process, we do the best that we can to make every connection that we can, but not every project gets connected to a resource because maybe it's not available in that semester, or the timing just didn't work out. So we definitely recommend submitting more projects than less, but at any rate, we'll do the matching process, and then you're going to think we're crazy because we're going to immediately go into planning for the next semester. But that is going to help us to ensure that we have the smoothest transition between semesters, and that we're able to tackle administrative tasks up at the beginning to just get the students ready to go. After the semester's work is complete, we will deliver final products to you, which I'll show you in just a moment, and begin the cycle again. You'll see over on the right there, there's always the opportunity as well for continuing projects, which happens sometimes when one project may bring up a whole new set of questions and a whole new set of opportunities. And so we want to provide a venue for you to continue the conversation and keep things moving forward. All right, I would like to introduce our two community partners to date. Our inaugural city partner was the city of Apache Junction. The photo you see here is from a kickoff event that we had. With Apache Junction, we worked with over 130 students. At this event, we had over 40 staff present. We conducted a bus tour of project sites, and it was a great community engagement opportunity. Through the course of the academic year, we coordinated 10 classes of students with kind of 7 + 1, and I'll talk about the +1 in a moment, projects for the city of Apache Junction. Our current partner is the city of Glendale. They're working with us for the 2018-19 academic year. This photo here is from a site visit where students visited a facilities maintenance site for a project to identify opportunities to incorporate sustainability into the facilities master plans. We are currently working with just shy of 50 students for this, and we are scoping out, so we've had 5 classes working on 3 projects this semester, and we're scoping out 3 additional projects for the coming semester. Here's a list of the projects that we've worked on with our current and past partner. As you can see, there are numerous opportunities to implement this program. There's a lot of different ways that we can approach this, and we take a big umbrella approach to sustainability. So as you can see, we're working in communications, we're working in revenue generation, we're working in flood mitigation, solid waste, homelessness. It is really quite wide-reaching, and we take a systems approach. In fact, it's so wide-reaching that there are more opportunities than we can even connect in a single semester. This is just a list of some of the ideas, and as you can see, we've really only scratched the surface yet. As a matter of fact, we did a really great workshop with the city of Glendale a month and a half ago, where we were able to convene department leaders from multiple departments of the city. And in that room alone, over 30 minutes, we generated about 25 solid project ideas that we're combing through right now to set up for at least a few of them for the spring semester. So when you get off this call, I just want to encourage you to think about how could we at Project Cities build value for you through engagement with ASU students? What might that look like for you? I'd like to introduce you to our faculty network. We've worked with 12 faculty today. Some of our faculty members have come back for multiple projects, and some of them hit one and they just can't wait to come back again when we find the interest from the city, from our next city partner to make it happen. We worked with 11 different ASU schools and departments, and as you can see here, it is a very, very multidisciplinary program. So why should you do Project Cities? What will you get out of it? So what does the city have to gain? So you know how sometimes projects can kind of fall down the list of priorities. Maybe you've hit a roadblock or a brief hump, something that something new comes up and you need to divert your attention over here. Well, Project Cities is a great opportunity to take those projects and help them to get unstuck. Students bring all sorts of energy to these programs, and they approach your issues from a variety of different angles, oftentimes from approaches that you may not have even thought of. This is a great community engagement opportunity, and it certainly increases capacity for the city partner. We're able to help find solutions based on dedicated academic research. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that the short timelines kind of encourage things to move forward. You'll see your projects move forward at a rather quick pace. And the research yields new up-to-date information by turning data into action. Not to mention, you'll also become an integral part of the Sustainable Cities and Project Cities network, which is a great opportunity to network with ASU and the various resources and departments that we have here on campus. As a bottom line, Project Cities is a great opportunity to approach sticky problems from new angles and find new solutions. So some of the final products that we deliver. We host events throughout the semester, either kickoffs or orientation meetings if you prefer to do smaller group events. The Apache Junction, for example, did large kickoff events with every student that we could get there from the current semester's program. City of Glendale preferred to do smaller group workshops where they directly connected with the department leads for their various programs. At the beginning and end of the semester, we'll put together beautiful posters for the program that go over great graphics and background information on the issue, as well as the student findings during the fall semester showcase. But the bread and butter of this program is the end of semester reports. These are semi-professional printed reports. These are included as part of the program fees. They're beautiful, well-designed, colorful, and the information is laid out in such a way that it puts things in an easy-to-digest format that's going to present information through tables, graphs, graphics, maps, photos, and historical information. At the end of the day, these are designed to help ensure that the findings from student work are as actionable as possible, that we provide recommendations on recommendations on next steps, and help you to move these projects forward even after the semester ends. So about the RFP, and let me pause real quickly here just to check in and see if we have any questions. I'm seeing some head shaking. So I think we're good. We'll keep moving.
Oh,
did you have something?
I just, if you want to go back a
Sure.
slide, with regards to the reports, these are concise reports that you can hand over to your city council very easily. So in the case of Apache Junction, their staff actually presented the projects and the reports to council to consider future actions, of which 2 out of the 4 projects they directed staff to take additional steps towards facilitating various projects. And we have all of the information posted online, so you will always have access to it, and also the student reports that support the executive summaries. So that's nice in case you're talking to other groups. If you have public-based committees that might be working on a related project, you can certainly refer them to these type of documents. I do want to stress these are semi-professional, meaning this is student work, so we're at no point competing with the private sector, but we do want to aspire the students to take on a client consultant type of, arrangement, so they understand what it's like to provide something of high value back to a customer or client. So we do have high expectations, but there is a range sometimes of the deliverables that are produced, but we do aspire to provide it in a very organized and professional looking format.
Thank you. All right, so the RFP. So to apply, very simple, just go to our website and follow the maroon buttons. Over here on the left is our homepage, projectcities.asu.edu. To see the RFP, you'll click that Learn More button. That'll take you to this page on the top right. That's the information page. So here you will find all sorts of helpful resources, including an FAQ, suggested timeline. You'll be able to access that video again if, say, you need to share this information with someone else on your team. Nice kind of concise way to do it. And you'll also find a blank template. And I want to pause here for just a moment to just strongly encourage the use of this blank template. The form itself, the RFP form itself, does not save your progress. So you're going to want to draft your content ahead of time. It's also just very helpful for you to be able to kind of write it out, workshop it for yourself before trying to fill out the RFP form itself. So bottom right is the RFP form itself. It's a Google form, and that content will go directly to us. We have a question?
Yes, it's Jody.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the RFP template, and I hear what you're saying about perhaps prepare the answers to the project descriptions and goals and various things in another form and then import it into the format.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really great. Is there a concise and easy way to print the template by itself? Because when I tried going into it, I wound up in Dropbox.
Yeah, so you should actually be able to download. There should be a button on the top right that says download, and it'll come through to you as a Word document.
Okay, all righty. Well, I'll go back and check that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just real quick, Jody, this is Lee. I did the same thing. I clicked on the blank template, took me to the Dropbox. I think it's like 3 little dots in the top corner or something. It's in the top right corner. It's a little button. If you click on that, it downloads it. It'll immediately download it as a Word document, and then you can just start typing in. Everything is like set up in little tables, so you can just start typing in. It's really easy.
Super. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you end up having any issues, just feel free to reach out to Steve or myself. If for some reason the form is not performing for you, you can also email the information to us in the Word doc. So we're not going to be, so sticky that we won't accept it in that format if the web's not working correctly. So yeah, just keep us informed on your progress, and we're happy to work with you.
Thanks, Anne.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll second that. We want to be as unsticky as possible.
We're trying to actually make the RFP easy to fill out, so not have it be so detailed that it's prohibitive for cities. We want to give you a lot of latitude as to the types of projects and information that you can include. So if there are important things to note as far as your budget, so Jody did mention, fundraising, and if there are limitations or thresholds that you have to work within, certainly include that in some of the notes section so that we can just take that into consideration.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, excellent. We'll go ahead and advance. So 5 easy steps, but I want to highlight a few things. Step 1, definitely reach out and talk to us. We want to know who's working on the RFP. It's good for us to know too as we approach our deadline, if we have to do any additional outreach or connect with you. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to submit. So even if that means going a couple days after the deadline, we're not going to shut you out if you need to get council approval or something like that. We want to work with you, but we can't work with you if you don't let us know that you're filling it out. So I saw your email this morning, Jody. Thank you so much for sending that in. Lee, if you guys decide to go ahead and apply as well, if you could just let me know. That way I'll keep an eye out for your application as well.
Definitely.
So step 2 is securing support in the community, and this is critical. So I want to review a few notes. It's It's very important that you build support for the program from both internal and external constituencies. So leadership would be internal and external. If you have any community partners involved in any of your projects, it's very important that they be aware of the program, that they be on board, and that the communication be set up ahead of time. It just kind of helps everything move more smoothly. We do require the support of a city manager. So we require a letter of support from your city manager for the application. It's also very helpful to have letters of support from at least one or two council members or the mayor, if that's available as well. Again, just demonstrating that higher level support for the Project Cities program. You must also designate a primary point of contact. And ideally, this is somebody who has some decision-making power within the city and has the workload capacity to fit this into their schedule. It is a bit of a time commitment. And we have like bi-weekly conference calls to check in. There will be a certain amount of wrangling of city staff and students. So it's not, we provide as much support as we can, but it is important that these expectations be set ahead of time and that, everyone has this on their radar and is agreed ahead of time just to ensure that everything moves more smoothly.
Steve, it's
Yeah.
Jody. Can I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a very little staff or town staff.
Uh-huh.
So while I will be the project contact, I would like to use members of my entire department to be supportive of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm presuming that all you need is kind of my name, and then on my end, I can manage the human resources, right?
Yeah, so more or less. So we designate one program manager as the primary point of contact at the city, and that's mostly for us for the most part, so we know who to go to. And then we also designate a staff person who's deeply embedded in each of the project areas. So every project will have a primary point of contact that is not necessarily the program manager for the city, if that makes sense.
Yes, depending on the list of projects that we submit, it may be that I'm both those people, and in other cases, it may be that I may have a secondary person working with me.
Yeah.
So we'll just do the best we can in filling out all those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just so for your background, with Apache Junction, we had that similar situation where our project lead was actually the program lead for Apache Junction was also the project lead on one of the projects as well, because he was invested in solid waste, so that was his area of expertise. So it worked out well. Essentially, we don't want to overwhelm you if you're in charge of being our main liaison, and you're also overseeing one or two of the projects. So you just kind of have to be mindful, I guess, of the time on your end, because we want to be respectful of your time and make sure, we don't burn you out in the process.
Thanks, Anne.
Sure.
All right, so that covers step 2, just ensuring that we have that leadership support and support within the community. Step 3, filling out the application itself. It's pretty self-explanatory for the most part, but I want to reiterate one thing I mentioned earlier, that we engage in a matching process, and not every project is able to match on every semester. So it is, again, recommended that you submit more projects than fewer as ideas, and we'll do the best to match per your budget and per the priorities for the city. Each project itself requires some basic background information, title description, etc. As I mentioned earlier, a designated program lead. So this will be the person who interfaces directly with the faculty member that they're paired with and with the students as necessary. We also require project goals, deliverables, and sustainability impacts. And I want to make a quick note of that. As I mentioned earlier, we take a big umbrella approach to incorporating sustainability, but it is important that sustainability be incorporated into every project. If you need help at all working on incorporating sustainability into a great project idea, we're here to help. Just reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to review any part of your application prior to submission to make recommendations. And we found that that's an area that sometimes folks may need a recommendation or two in. You'll also want to identify potential funding sources within the city that will support that project with project cities. So this can come from a variety of different departments. We've had folks combine, kind of pool resources together across departments. We've had combinations of funding type, be it general funds, special initiatives, funds, grant funding. Even in some cases, you might be able to do like a cooperative funding agreement with a community partner. But be creative with it, and we have ideas if you need help with that. Oh, one other thing too is depending on the timing, you may be able to split funding across across fiscal years too, which is something to consider. If applicable, each project will also request any supporting documents. So if you reference any strategic plans or designs or anything, facilities, blueprints, go ahead and upload those if it's applicable as well. And then step 4, providing supporting documents. This is primarily for letters of support, but please also provide any relevant background information for yourselves as a city or your leadership, any information that is going to be relevant. Also, if you work with any community partners, please ensure that you get a letter of support from that community partner for that project as well. Okay, and then step 5 is pretty self-explanatory. Go fill out the form and submit it, then we'll get it. All right, and the applications for this cycle are due November 21st. All right, the timeline. I'm just gonna highlight a few important points. The deadline is the 21st of November. Again, keep us in communication about that. Okay. We are aiming to select a partner in the early to mid-December, so around December 10th. We will announce the month of, and then we're going to take a little bit of a holiday break. It's just the way things go around here. And we're going to hit the ground in January on a course matching process. We'll spend January to April working out MOU, IGA, JPA. We make one kind of broad agreement between the university and the city, and then we'll negotiate individual scope of work documents for the individual projects themselves. So that's that window there. May to July, we'll be coordinating schedules, just trying to get everything on everyone's radar as early as possible, helps everyone plan ahead. And also the students, they have schedules they need to coordinate as well, so that's very helpful if we can get that ahead of time. We'll be hosting orientation meetings in the beginning of August. Classes start on the 22nd, and in the first couple weeks of September, we're going to aim to do the student orientation presentations and or a kickoff event hosted at the community partner. All right.
Steve, this is Jody again. Back on that orientation.
Okay.
When we're talking about the budget, the $25,000 to $35,000 minimum kind of target budget, does that include costs for things like student housing and meals and faculty housing and meals when you all are up here, or is that separate and above that budget number?
It's going to include transportation and lodging as needed.
Yeah.
Okay. Because some of the ways we're thinking we can help defray some of these things because of the kinds of projects we're talking about. We've got community partners that we think can sponsor some things like hotel rooms and meals and even maybe some fun stuff like going down the Verde River for the students and stuff like that.
Nice.
So we have ways to help with some of those things so we don't have to hit our budget for that. And that's kind of a way that typically we've done stuff with our community partners to help keep the cash portion of the budget lower, but still provide a quality experience for people when they're here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want stuff like that in the budget discussion in the RFP, or where should I put that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would definitely include that information. That's something that we'd want to consider.
Okay.
I guess it kind of depends if that would be specific to one project or if it would be specific to the whole project. So if it's for the whole, you might want to put it in at the end where you upload additional documents.
Okay.
If it's something that's specific to one project or the other, I would upload it to that section. Actually, come to think of it, our upload form, everything goes into one folder. But I would notate it. That will help me to kind of keep things organized in the appropriate section.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the budget piece precedes all the project lists, I think, in the RFP. So I'll probably do it at the global level, and then you'll see, and we'll see, and see what happens.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to consider opportunities. Obviously, with a long distance partner, we would look to leverage as much technology as possible, probably in between the kickoff and the showcase presentation. We do want the students to have the experience of visiting your community, talking with your staff, seeing the different projects. If it involves a tour or different venues, then we would want to definitely try to make that possible for them to see it firsthand, because that's part of the student experience. But we do want to leverage technology too. So ongoing meetings, Zoom seems to work incredibly well as far as sharing files, seeing people on the screen and being able to communicate and that. So we'll try to do our best to use that as much as possible to maximize everybody's time too. I think time is money, and so it's really important to kind of make the most of meetings when you have people's attention.
Super, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and advance. Some tips, some sneak insights for you. These are some things that are definitely going to help to set your application apart and help you to really submit the best application that you can. The first one is just quite simple. The more clear and fleshed out the ideas are, the stronger your application is. If you're familiar with the SMART framework, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, that kind of language definitely helps with listing out the project goals and deliverables. We want you to be mindful of scope. Now, as we go through the matching process, we'll be in touch if there's a project that's just, it's maybe out of scope, maybe it's bigger than one semester. And there's two different ways that we can approach that. We may recommend splitting a project into two projects, and we may recommend setting up a continuation. So one piece goes first and then a continuation piece for the following semester that builds on that past semester's work. But remember, these are students working over the course of one semester or 1 year, depending on the format. Hold realistic expectations. Remember it is student work. There's gems, and then there's average, and we like to find the gems, but remember it is student work, so the product quality may be variable. There's a couple ways that we can approach that. We can build redundancies into your projects. So for example, if we have one class of students, you can make the call, we can make the call together, I guess, of whether we'll have all the students approach the same question, or if you'd rather do a divide and conquer approach where you can answer multiple questions, but just with a little bit higher risk that maybe one or two of the questions don't get answered as fully as you were hoping. But we can scope that out together, whether you want to build in those redundancies of having multiple students looking at the same questions, or scoping it out to do multiples. Do we have a question?
Yes. Oh, is it my turn, or Lee, do you want to say something?
Jody, it's you. Go ahead.
Okay. talk to me about team projects. Is that possible with this approach, or are we looking at individual contributors kind of and that setup?
Can I ask for your definition of team projects?
Well, we did an epics project years ago with Dick Philly's kids back, golly, 5-7 years ago, something like that. And there was a team of, like a small little project team that was working on wastewater treatment processing and management.
Mm-hmm.
And they all worked together and delivered one product rather than multiple products coming forward from each individual student.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt as though each individually had, of course, strengths and weaknesses. And so working together collaboratively, it felt as though we got a really good product, but each kind of rose to the occasion in different ways. And so I just didn't know if you were going to be relying on us to be the synthesis point, or that kind of happens on your side of the equation. And when the product comes, the report comes forward, that's something that it is kind of delivered as an end product. And we see that rather than having us go back and forth on it and then have them write up the final product.
So a few answers to that question. One is we can scope it out together and negotiate with the faculty member on, again, whether you want to have all the students addressing one thing and compiling, one final product, or you want to have everyone working individually on different angles on the product. And we can scope that out together as we're negotiating those scope of work documents with the faculty member. That said, if you take students doing multiple approaches, that end of semester report that we provide, the executive summary, should help serve to reach that goal of synthesizing the information. And additionally, we'll make the information, the individual student reports, available for you online. So if there is any particular direction that you'd like to do some further research, that resource is available to you as well, so you can follow up on it. That answer your question? Okay.
Yes, Steve, thanks.
Awesome. Okay, great. And also there was one other piece too. We do look at student capstone projects as well as a potential project format. That would be kind of like an individual student working with you directly on one product, and it's higher risk, higher reward potential, right? Because the student's going to spend a whole lot of time looking at it. The project may kind of meander a little bit over this direction or that direction, but again, approaching things from new angles that you may not have thought of otherwise. And that's one of the project formats that we can look at as well. Okay. Other submission tips considering community partners. Having multiple partners in on your project together is going to make, it'll potentially make your application stronger, so you can demonstrate that broader base of support, and that there may already be organizations working on this issue in your community, and we can just bring in the extra capacity of student researchers to support those efforts. Definitely, I'm reiterating this from earlier, but ensure that upper level management is on board and supportive. That is very, very important. As well as this next point, ensuring that staff are personally invested. We find that when the city project lead really cares about the topic, the project is commensurately better at the end. And in addition to providing capacity for you guys, it's important to remember that we're also providing a learning experience for the students. And so we find that personal passion and that personal involvement in the issue is very important as well. And the last recommendation that we have for you, I've mentioned earlier, but I'll reiterate again, is just get creative with your funding. It doesn't all have to come from one bucket of funding. As I've mentioned, we've had partners in the past piece together funding from multiple departments, combining different types of funding, and even splitting across fiscal years if we get the timing right. And if you have any questions about that, or if you need any help thinking up strategies, just reach out. You know, we're trying to be unsticky. So just reach out and we're happy to help you. All right, so that's all we had for you. We wanted to open up here at the end just for a Q&A session. And I also, real quickly before we do that, I want to mention that our current project partner, the City of Glendale, the program manager has offered to be available if anyone has questions or would like to hear kind of from her perspective what the experience has been like working with Project Cities. If you'd like that contact information, just shoot me a note. I'd be happy to share her. So with that, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for any questions. And Lee, I saw you unmute first. Did you have?
I guess actually I have to head out real quick,
Okay.
but the letter of support from like the city manager office or the mayor or council members, is that a letter of support per project, or is that overall for the Project Cities like program?
Yeah, it would be overall.
Okay, cool. And then if we had community partners, those letters of support would be specific to the project the community partner's part of?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have to head out, sorry.
No worries.
But thank you so much. And Stephen, yes, I will definitely shoot you an email. I just have to talk to my supervisor. I'm kind of scoping out for her what this might look like for the City of Flagstaff, but I'll definitely be emailing you.
Well, fabulous. Lee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Looking forward to connecting with you more. Have a great, wonderful day, and let us know if you need anything.
Will do. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Jody, you've got the floor.
I think I'm good. I was so pesky all the way through your presentation. I got all my questions answered. We went along.
Oh, that's perfect. And actually, it helps with the recording too because it's, you know, contemporaneous. So